The Lion and the Moon. Under the silver glow of a full moon, the Serengeti pulsed with life. The pride of lions, led by the mighty Ngaru, sat atop their rocky throne, gazing in awe at their celestial guardian. For generations, they believed as moon watched over them, its gentle light guiding their hunts and keeping their cubs safe from danger. Every night, the lions gathered in reverence, their roars echoing into the night sky as hymns of devotion. But this night, something unusual began to unfold. The moon, full and radiant, flickered as though a shadow was trying to engulf it. Ngaru growled low, his golden eyes narrowing. "Something is amiss," he said. "The moon is in peril." For the first time in living memory, the moon did not rise the following evening. The pride waited under the inky sky, their whispers turning to uneasy murmurs. Days turned to weeks, and still the moon's silver light did not return. The once confident lions began to falter, their hunts growing difficult without the guiding light. Ngaru called a council, inviting the pride's elders to the sacred rock. "Our guardian is lost," he said solemnly. "We cannot survive without its light. Who among us will brave the unknown to find answers?" Silence fell over the group, their courage waning. It was then that a small, clever voice interrupted. "I will go," said Temba, the hare, stepping forward with a determined twinkle in her eye. The lions erupted in laughter. "A hare? To the heavens?" scoffed Kifaru, a burly lion. "You'd be swallowed by the darkness before taking a single step." But Ngaru silenced the mockery with a thunderous roar. "Do not underestimate small courage. Sometimes it is the smallest among us who carry the greatest resolve." Temba lifted her head proudly. "The moon's disappearance affects all who walk this land. If no lion dares to go, then let a hare attempt it. I may not have your strength, but I have wit and determination." With Ngaru's blessing, Temba prepared to embark on a journey no creature had ever dared before. To the heavens themselves, Temba set out at dawn, her heart a mixture of fear and determination. She carried nothing but her quick mind and a prayer whispered by Ngaru. "May the stars guide you." Her first challenge was crossing the great river, whose waters churned violently, swollen from the recent rains. At the riverbank, Temba encountered the crocodile king, whose grin revealed rows of jagged teeth. "Why should I help you cross, little hare?" he asked, circling her. Temba bowed respectfully. "Great crocodile king, the moon is gone, and soon the river will dry without its pull. Help me, and you save your kingdom." Intrigued, the crocodile agreed, carrying her on his back across the raging waters. Temba's journey led her into the forest of echoes, where the trees whispered secrets and shadows danced eerily. Legend said that the forest was home to the wily spirits of the forgotten. Temba tread cautiously, her ears twitching at every sound. As night fell, the spirits revealed themselves, glowing faintly in the moonless dark. "Why do you trespass, little one?" they asked in unison. Temba replied, "The moon is missing, and all creatures suffer in its absence. I seek to find it and restore balance." Impressed by her bravery, the spirits offered her guidance. "Follow the trail of silver dust left by the stars. It will lead you to the moon's last resting place." The trail of silver dust led Temba to the towering mountain of dawn, its peak shrouded in clouds. This was the realm of Nyota, the ancient keeper of the stars. As Temba began her climb, she encountered fierce winds that threatened to hurl her off the cliffs. Midway up the mountain, an eagle descended, its wings spread wide like shadows cast by the clouds. Why does a hare attempt the climb meant for the mighty? The eagle asked. Temba responded, Even the smallest creature can achieve greatness with purpose. I climb not for myself, but for the world. Impressed, the eagle allowed Temba to ride on its back, soaring her to the summit. At the summit, Temba met Nyota, a figure of radiant starlight who moved like a living constellation. "Why do you seek me, hare?" Nyota asked, her voice like the chiming of distant bells. Temba bowed low. "The moon is gone, and without it, the land suffers. I need your wisdom to find it." Nyota's light dimmed as she sighed. "The moon has been captured by the Shadow King, a jealous spirit who seeks to extinguish its light forever. To save it, you must journey to the Shadow Realm, a place of endless night. Only there will you find the moon." Nyota gifted Temba a shard of starlight, which glowed faintly in the darkness. "This will protect you from the Shadow King's illusions," she said. "But beware, for the Shadow Realm preys on fear." Temba thanked her and descended the mountain, her resolve stronger than ever. Her next challenge was finding the portal to the Shadow Realm, hidden deep within the Desert of Whispers. The desert was vast and unforgiving, with dunes that shifted like restless waves. Guided by the shard of starlight, Temba pressed on, her small paws sinking into the hot sand. The Desert of Whispers lived up to its name. The winds carried faint, eerie voices that seemed to call Temba's name, coaxing her to stray from her path. As the heat bore down on her, her thoughts began to waver. What if I fail? What if the Shadow Realm consumes me? The whispers grew louder, feeding on her doubts. But then the shard of starlight in her paw pulsed gently, a comforting glow that steadied her heart. "I will not falter," Temba whispered to herself. As dusk fell, she spotted a silhouette on the horizon, a lone fox with fur like twilight, watching her with piercing golden eyes. The fox approached with a graceful yet wary step. "You are far from home, little hare," he said, his voice as smooth as silk. Temba explained her journey to find the portal and rescue the moon. The fox tilted his head thoughtfully. "The portal lies within the Mirage Canyon, a place few dare to enter. I will guide you there, for your courage intrigues me." Grateful for the company, Temba followed the fox through the shifting sands. As they traveled, the fox shared stories of the desert's secrets, of travelers lost to mirages and creatures that thrived in the shadows. Each tale made Temba clutch the shard tighter, its glow a reminder of her purpose. After 2 days of travel, they arrived at Mirage Canyon, a labyrinth of towering sandstone walls that glimmered with deceptive reflections. "The portal lies at the heart of this canyon," the fox said. "But beware, the walls will show you what you fear most." Temba nodded, her resolve firm, but her heart heavy with apprehension. As she stepped into the canyon, the walls came alive with illusions. She saw her pride struggling under the darkened skies, their strength waning, She saw herself wandering endlessly, lost and alone. "These are not real," Temba told herself, gripping the shard tightly. Its glow intensified, dispelling the haunting visions. Deep within Mirage Canyon, they reached a circle of ancient weathered stones, etched with runes. In the center, swirling portal of shadows and silver light pulsed ominously. "This is the gateway to the Shadow Realm," the fox said. "It will test your spirit before allowing you to pass." Temba took a deep breath and stepped forward. As she entered, she was enveloped in cold darkness. The portal's energy surged around her, creating visions of her greatest insecurities. She saw herself failing her mission, her pride turning their backs on her. Tears welled in her eyes, but then she remembered the moon's gentle light and the trust her pride had placed in her. "I am more than my fears," she declared, and the portal finally let her through. Temba emerged into the Shadow Realm, a desolate expanse of blackened ground and swirling mists. The air was heavy with the weight of despair, and the silence was unnerving. The shard of starlight glowed brighter, pushing back the darkness and guiding her steps. She soon encountered creatures of shadow, wraith-like beings that whispered threats and lies. "Turn back, little hare," they hissed. "You are unworthy." But Temba stood her ground, the shard illuminating her path and scattering the wraiths. She pressed on, determined to find the Shadow King. The deeper Temba ventured into the Shadow Realm, the more oppressive it became. She reached a river of black water, its surface rippling with ominous shapes. A bridge of jagged rocks stretched across it, and at its center stood a hooded figure with glowing red eyes. "Who dares to cross my river?" the figure demanded. Temba stepped forward, her voice steady despite her fear. "I am Temba, sent by my pride to find the moon. Let me pass." The figure chuckled, a chilling sound. "Bravery alone will not grant you passage. Solve my riddle, or be consumed by the river." Temba listened carefully to the riddle, her clever mind racing to find the answer. The riddle was complex, weaving themes of light and shadow, life and death. Temba pondered it, her mind sharpened by years of solving problems for her pride. Finally, she spoke her answer, her voice clear and confident. The hooded figure regarded her for a moment before stepping aside. "You may pass, clever one," it said, fading into the mist. Crossing the bridge, Temba felt the shard grow warmer, its light piercing through the shadows. She knew she was drawing closer to the Shadow King's lair, and her determination only grew stronger. The moon's voice echoed faintly in her mind, urging her onward. As Temba crossed the jagged bridge, she could feel the weight of the Shadow King's presence growing heavier. The river churned below her, filled with grotesque shapes clawing at the edges of the rocks. But the shard of starlight in her paw glowed brighter, holding them at bay. Ahead, the land rose into a twisted palace carved from black stone, its towers piercing the inky sky. The air crackled with dark energy, and Temba's heart pounded as she approached the towering gates. Despite her fear, she whispered, "For my pride, for the moon," and pressed forward. The gates groaned open, as if sensing her resolve. Inside, the palace was a labyrinth of shadowy corridors and echoing whispers. The walls seemed alive, shifting and writhing as if trying to confuse her. Temba's shard pulsed like a heartbeat, guiding her steps through the maze. As she turned a corner, a towering shadow loomed ahead. It shaped itself into a lion, a dark mirror of the moonlit pride's leader. "You are too small, too weak," it growled, its voice filled with venom. Temba clenched her paws. "You are nothing but an illusion," she declared, raising the shard. Its light shattered the shadow, clearing her path. At the heart of the palace, Temba reached a grand hall, draped in an oppressive darkness that even the shard struggled to penetrate. At the far end sat the Shadow King, a figure cloaked in swirling shadows, his eyes burning like embers. "So, the little hare dares to challenge me," he said, his voice like thunder. Temba stood tall despite the overwhelming fear clawing at her chest. "You've stolen the moon's light and thrown my world into chaos. I demand you return it." The Shadow King laughed, the sound reverberating through the hall. "You think you can take what is mine? Very well. Prove your worth." The Shadow King summoned creatures of darkness, grotesque beasts with glowing red eyes and sharp claws. They circled Temba, snarling and snapping, but the shard of starlight flared, creating a barrier around her. "Your tricks won't work on me," she shouted, her voice echoing with newfound courage. One by one, the creatures lunged, but Temba's quick thinking and the shard's light thwarted them. Each time a beast fell, the shard glowed brighter, filling the hall with cracks of light. The Shadow King watched with growing fury, his form swelling with dark energy. As the last beast vanished, the Shadow King rose from his throne. "Impressive, little hare, but you face a far greater challenge now." With a wave of his hand, the room shifted into a vast void, stars scattered like forgotten memories. The moon hung dimly in the distance, ensnared in chains of shadow. Temba stepped forward, her eyes locked on the moon. "I will free you," she vowed. The Shadow King smirked. "To claim it, you must face the greatest shadow of all, your own." Suddenly, a dark doppelganger of Temba appeared, mimicking her every move. The Shadow Temba lunged, mirroring her every thought and action with chilling precision. For every step forward, it blocked her path. For every strike, it countered. Frustration bubbled within her. "How can I defeat myself?" she thought, doubt creeping into her mind. Then she remembered Neota's words. "The Shadow Realm preys on fear." Realizing the truth, Temba stopped fighting and faced her shadow. "I see you," she whispered, "and I accept you." The shadow froze, its form dissolving into smoke. The shard of starlight glowed with a brilliance that shattered the chains binding the moon. The moon surged with light, its silver glow washing over the void. The Shadow King roared in fury, his form unraveling as the moon's radiance grew. "This is not over," he bellowed, his voice fading as he dissolved into nothingness. The palace trembled, the walls cracking and crumbling. Temba raced toward the moon, which lowered itself to meet her. Its light enveloped her, filling her with warmth and gratitude. "Thank you, brave one," the moon said, its voice soft yet powerful. "Your courage has restored balance to the night." The shard in her paw melted into the moon's light, completing its purpose. The void faded, replaced by the familiar savanna under a now full moon. Temba found herself back among her pride, who greeted her with awe and joy. "You've returned the moon," one lioness exclaimed. Simba, the leader, stepped forward, bowing his head in respect. "You have done what none of us could, Temba. You are our true guardian." The pride gathered beneath the moon, their roars echoing across the savanna in celebration. Temba, though weary, felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She looked up at the moon, which glowed brighter than ever, a silent promise of protection. The pride spent the night celebrating Temba's return and the restoration of the moon's light. Beneath its glow, they shared stories of their struggles during the dark month, each tale weaving a tapestry of survival and resilience. Simba roared loudly, his voice echoing over the savanna. "Tonight, we honor Temba, the savior of our pride and the protector of the night." Temba stood before the pride, her small figure illuminated by the moonlight. "I didn't do this alone," she said, her voice steady. "Nyota, the celestial guide, and the moon itself believed in me. But most importantly, I believed in the strength of our pride." Her words were met with a chorus of roars and cheers. As dawn approached, the pride gathered at the watering rock, a sacred place where they often came to reflect. Temba approached Simba, her paw prints light against the earth. "Simba, I need to share what I've learned," she said. "The Shadow King may have been defeated, but the darkness in our hearts, fear, doubt, and division, can still take hold if we let it." Simba nodded thoughtfully. "Then we must ensure that we never forget this lesson. You've proven that courage and unity can conquer even the darkest of times. We must remind future generations of your bravery." He declared that the pride would establish a tradition of honoring the moon each month to remember Temba's journey and their connection to the celestial guardian. Days turned into weeks, and the savanna began to heal. The pride worked together to rebuild what was lost during the moonless month. They hunted in harmony, ensuring that no one was left hungry. The lionesses, inspired by Temba's bravery, shared stories of courage with the cubs, who listened wide-eyed. Temba, however, often found herself gazing at the night sky, wondering about the moon's realm. She felt a pull to return to Nyota, to understand more about the balance between light and shadow. One evening, as the moon hung low, she ventured back to the sacred hill where her journey had begun. At the top of the hill, the air shimmered, and Nyota appeared once more. "You have done well, Temba," she said, her voice as soothing as the wind. "But your journey is far from over. The balance you've restored is delicate, and the lessons you've learned must be shared beyond your pride." Temba's ears perked up. "Beyond the pride? But how? The savanna is vast, and the creatures are divided by their own struggles." Nyota smiled. "By sharing your story, little one. Courage inspires courage. Start with those closest to you, and the message will spread." Temba returned to the pride with a renewed sense of purpose. She called a gathering under the full moon and recounted her journey once again, weaving in Nyota's message of unity and balance. "We must reach out to other creatures of the savanna," she urged. "They need to know that the light can be restored, no matter how dark it seems." The pride murmured in agreement, though some were skeptical. "The hyenas have always been our enemies," a lioness said. "Why should we trust them?" Temba's gaze was steady, because the moon shines for all of us, regardless of our differences. We must lead by example. The next morning, Temba and Simba led a small delegation to the outskirts of the hyena's territory. The air was tense as they approached, their roars echoing through the dry canyons. Shenzi, the hyena matriarch, appeared with her pack, their hackles raised. "What brings lions to our land?" she demanded. Temba stepped forward. "We come in peace. I wish to share what I've learned from the moon and the stars." Shenzi's eyes narrowed, but she allowed Temba to speak. As the hare recounted her journey, even the hyenas were drawn into the tale. When she finished, Shenzi's expression softened. "Perhaps there's more to this world than rivalry," she said thoughtfully. Temba's story spread across the savanna like wildfire. Birds carried the message to distant trees. Elephants shared it at the watering holes, and even the wary meerkats began to whisper it among their colonies. Each creature who heard it found a spark of courage igniting within them. The moon seemed to shine brighter with each passing night, as if watching the savanna's newfound unity. Nyota appeared to Temba in her dreams, offering gentle guidance. "The savanna is changing because of you, Temba," she said. "But remember, balance is a constant effort. You must always guard it." Temba, now revered across the savanna, found her days filled with creatures seeking her wisdom. A flock of starlings flew in from the western cliffs, chirping about a drought that plagued their nesting grounds. "The rivers have run dry, and our young cannot drink," one bird lamented. Temba listened intently. "This is a reminder that balance is not just about light and shadow, but also about life and sustenance," she said. Gathering her pride and other willing creatures, they set out to assist the starlings. Elephants dug new watering holes, and the birds helped scatter seeds to encourage the growth of trees that would shade and shelter the land. As the savanna thrived under the light of the moon, not all creatures welcomed the change. Deep in the rocky highlands, a group of jackals, envious of Temba's influence, began to sow seeds of discord. "The moon's light is fleeting," their leader sneered. "What happens when it fades again?" Their whispers reached the ears of the vulnerable, who began to doubt. Sensing the unease, Temba approached the jackals directly. "Why do you speak against the moon's light?" she asked boldly. The jackal leader, caught off guard by her courage, admitted his fears. "We've always lived in the shadows. Change feels like losing who we are." Temba nodded thoughtfully. "The shadows are not enemies of the light. They give it depth and meaning. You don't need to fear change. It can coexist with your identity." Her words struck a chord with the jackals, and though hesitant, they agreed to join the efforts to unite the savanna. This alliance surprised the other animals, but Temba reminded them, "The moon doesn't discriminate in its light. If we truly seek balance, we must make space for all." Gradually, the jackals found their place, helping to patrol the borders and warn of dangers lurking in the dark. The months passed, and the savanna blossomed under its newfound harmony. Trees that had once stood bare were now lush with leaves, and rivers that had run dry sparkled under the moonlight. The animals worked together seamlessly, their shared stories weaving a fabric of trust and mutual respect. One night, as Temba sat gazing at the moon, Nyota appeared beside her. You've done more than restore balance to the savanna, Nyota said. You've taught its creatures the value of unity and hope. But your work isn't finished. Temba tilted her head. What more is there to do? She asked. Nyota smiled, her form glowing brighter than ever. The balance you've created here is a blueprint for the world. Other lands face their own struggles. Share what you've learned with them, and the light of the moon will guide you. Temba felt a surge of purpose. Then I'll continue my journey, she declared. The pride bid her farewell the next evening. There roars a harmonious symphony of gratitude and love. Temba set off under the moon's watchful gaze, her path illuminated by its silvery glow. She knew her journey would be long and challenging, but the courage and unity she had inspired in the savanna would be the light she carried with her forever. Experience the magic of the moonlit savanna. Discover the thrilling journey of Temba the lioness as she ventures into realms unknown, confronts the Shadow King, and unites a divided savanna under the watchful glow of the moon. If this story captivated your heart, like this video to spread the light of Temba's courage. Subscribe to You Crave News channel for more epic tales of bravery, wisdom, and unity. Share this journey with friends and family to inspire them with the power of hope and resilience. Let Temba's story remind us all that no matter the shadows, the light of courage and unity can guide us through.